1967 changed rock forever. The summer of love flooded streets with color, sound, and rebellion. Giants like the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix dominated the airwaves, but beneath the headlines, hidden gems burned just as bright. These songs didn't top charts, yet they shaped the underground and inspired generations to come. Today, we dive into the most underrated rock tracks of a revolutionary year. Let's begin.
There's a light.
In 1967, while psychedelic rock ruled the charts, the Bee Gees introduced a track that carried raw emotion rather than colorful soundscapes. 2. Love Somebody wasn't built on fuzz guitars or experimental tape loops. Instead, it delivered a vocal performance so heartfelt that it pierced through the noise of the era. Barry Gibb's voice, soaring yet fragile, carried a weight that few rock ballads could achieve at the time. This wasn't just a love song, it was a confession dressed in melody, aching with sincerity. What makes this song underrated is how quickly it was overshadowed by the Bee Gees' later disco fame. When people think of the Gibb brothers, they imagine flashing lights and dance floors, not the soulful despair embedded in this track. Yet many artists, from Janis Joplin to Nina Simone, recognized its brilliance and covered it, proving its universal resonance. Despite this, mainstream audiences still neglect it when celebrating the rock and pop innovations of 1967. Looking back, to Love. Somebody deserves recognition not only for its emotional power but also for its influence. It hinted at a new dimension of vulnerability in rock, setting a precedent for future singer-songwriters. In an era obsessed with sonic experimentation, this song reminded the world that the pure force of feeling could be just as revolutionary. Have you ever felt a song know your pain better than you do? Buffalo Springfield may be remembered for what it's worth, but Bluebird is where their artistic ambition truly spread its wings. Released during the summer of 1967, this track fused folk, rock, and psychedelia in a way few bands dared at the time. Its opening acoustic textures lure you into a calm meadow, only for the electric guitars to ignite a storm, creating one of the most dynamic arrangements of the decade. Stephen Stills' songwriting shines with lyrical intimacy layered over bold instrumental experimentation. Bluebird didn't climb to the top of the charts, but it offered a glimpse into the possibilities of blending contrasting moods and sounds within a single track. Critics have since called it a hidden cornerstone of folk rock evolution, yet for decades, casual listeners overlooked its structural genius. Today, hearing Bluebird feels like discovering a missing chapter in the book of 60s rock. Its influence on later country rock and jam band scenes is undeniable. The way it balances delicacy with raw energy reflects the restless creativity of the Summer of Love, making it a song that deserves far more attention than history gave it. On the flip side of their explosive hit Light My Fire, the Doors offered something hauntingly beautiful, The Crystal Ship. While most of 1967 vibrated with psychedelic fireworks, this track whispered secrets through darkness. Jim Morrison's voice floats like a midnight fog, fragile yet commanding, over Ray Manzarek's almost classical piano lines. It's a song that trades chaos for contemplation, a rare moment of quiet amid an era of noise. At the time, The Crystal Ship slipped under the radar, overshadowed by the Doors' more rebellious anthems. Yet, its poetic melancholy. Before you slip into unconsciousness, I'd Like to Have Another Kiss captures Morrison's existential depth better than any scream of Break On Through. It became a cult favorite among die-hard fans, but radio rarely gave it the airplay its artistry deserved. Decades later, it stands as one of the Doors' most timeless compositions. Its brevity, elegance, and emotional tension make it a masterclass in restraint during a decade obsessed with excess. If the Summer of Love had a secret midnight soundtrack, The Crystal Ship would be its closing track, echoing softly after the last light faded.
behind the lines.
Buried deep in the archives of 1967 is a gem from the Love Exchange, a band whose name you might never hear in casual conversations about the 60s. Swallow the Sun is pure psychedelic innocence, blooming with jangly guitars and harmonies that shimmer like sunbeams. It sounds like the dream of a generation condensed into 2.5 minutes, a kaleidoscope of optimism wrapped in swirling organ tones.
Sapphire still shine.
The track never charted, and its creators quickly faded from the spotlight, but their contribution to the psychedelic movement is undeniable. Unlike the heavy-handed experimentation of bigger bands, Swallow the Sun captures the heart of the era in its simplest form: hopeful, vibrant, and unafraid to sound naive. That purity is precisely what makes it so captivating today. Modern listeners rediscovering this track often describe it as a time capsule of an age that believed in peace and love as more than slogans. While the Summer of Love produced countless anthems, few radiate this level of untouched sincerity, making Swallow the Sun a lost treasure worth embracing.
Nice to have the time to take.
Everyone knows Sgt. Pepper, but far fewer celebrate this psychedelic behemoth from George Harrison. It's All Too Much, tucked away on the Yellow Submarine soundtrack, feels like a cosmic explosion, a swirling carnival of distorted guitars, droning organs, and kaleidoscopic feedback. It was Harrison at his most adventurous, pushing the band into pure acid rock territory years before heavy psychedelia became mainstream. The track's length and chaotic layers made it an unlikely single, and critics of the time dismissed it as excessive. Yet what seemed overwhelming in 1967 now feels visionary. Its sonic density anticipated the psychedelic and shoegaze movements of later decades, influencing artists who saw beauty in the abstract and overwhelming.
For me to look at you.
Listening now, you sense the wild energy of a band refusing to play safe. It's All Too Much isn't polished perfection, it's a trip, an experience, a statement. In a year that celebrated breaking boundaries, this song shattered them completely, making its lack of recognition one of the great ironies of rock history. When The Who released I Can See for Miles, Pete Townshend believed it was their masterpiece. He expected it to dominate the charts, but to his frustration, it stalled far below his hopes. This song is raw power wrapped in precision, driven by Keith Moon's explosive drumming and harmonies that crash like waves. It wasn't just a track, it was a thunderstorm compressed into 4 minutes.
That I don't know about.
Despite its lack of chart-topping success, I Can See for Miles pushed rock toward a heavier, more aggressive sound, influencing the rise of hard rock and even punk. The track's paranoia-fueled lyrics and relentless drive capture a darker undercurrent of the Summer of Love, a warning that not everything was flowers and peace signs. It stood in stark contrast to the era's laid-back optimism, which might explain why it never fully connected with the mainstream. Today, the song feels prophetic. Its tension, volume, and ambition predated the explosion of 70s rock, making it one of The Who's most important contributions to music history. Listening now, it's clear why Townshend thought it was the band's greatest single. It sounded like the future, even when the present wasn't ready for it. Itchy-Coo Park was a trip wrapped in innocence, a playful ode to escapism in the middle of the psychedelic wave. Released in August 1967, it introduced mainstream audiences to flanging, a now classic effect that gave the track its shimmering, swirling sound. For 2.5 minutes, Small Faces created a dream world, where skipping school and lying in the grass felt like rebellion and revelation rolled into one. Despite becoming a moderate hit in the United Kingdom, it never earned the same legendary status as other psychedelic anthems of the era. Its lyrics, seemingly simple and childlike, hit a quiet defiance. The idea that freedom could be found in the smallest acts. In an age of grand gestures, Ichiku Park was subversive by being soft, turning away from politics to celebrate joy itself.
Over bridge of sights.
Over time, the song has become a cult favorite, embraced for its bright charm and technical innovation. Listening today, its flanging effects and layered harmonies still sound fresh, a testament to how forward-thinking Small Faces really were. If the Summer of Love had a smile, it might sound exactly like this track. Before the mod scene faded into psychedelic excess, The Who experimented with identity and illusion in a track few casual fans know, Disguises. Written in the mid-60s but surfacing on compilations during 1967, it offered a darker, moodier sound than the band's earlier hits. Its lyrics question authenticity in a world obsessed with appearances, a theme that feels even more relevant today. Musically, Disguises was a quiet revolution. It blended hypnotic riffs with almost raga-like undertones, anticipating the psychedelic experiments The Who would explore on later albums. But because it wasn't attached to a major release at the time, it fell into obscurity, known mostly by collectors and die-hard fans. For a band famous for destruction on stage, this was their most subtle act of rebellion, turning inward instead of smashing outward. Now, Disguises stands as a hidden precursor to the conceptual ambitions of Tommy and Quadrophenia. It's proof that The Who were not just loud, they were thinkers, willing to blur lines between pop simplicity and philosophical depth. This track is a puzzle piece that, once found, changes the whole picture. When you think of the Byrds in 1967, you picture jangly guitars and Dylan covers, not smoky ballads. That's why Everybody's Been Burned is such a revelation. Penned by David Crosby, this song drifts far from the band's folk rock comfort zone into jazz-inflected melancholy. Its hushed tones and introspective lyrics create an atmosphere closer to a midnight confession than a sunny California anthem. At the time, it was too subtle for the charts, buried on the album Younger Than Yesterday. Yet its slow tempo and unusual chord progressions showcase Crosby's experimental instincts, the same instincts that would later shape his work with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Listeners expecting bright harmonies might have skipped it, but those who stayed found a quiet masterpiece. Today, the track feels decades ahead of its time. Its intimacy and vulnerability foreshadowed the singer-songwriter boom and even ambient rock textures of later eras. Everybody's Been Burned proves that innovation doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, and only the patient truly hear it. Can heartbreak sound beautiful enough to soothe itself?
We're cunning magpies.
Before Ziggy Stardust, before the fame and the androgynous glamour, David Bowie was a young artist searching for his voice. In 1967, he recorded In the Heat of the Morning, a song that went almost unnoticed at the time. It's dramatic, theatrical, and brimming with the ambition that would later define him, yet it never got the attention it deserved.
Your face appear on a cloud.
The track combines Baroque pop with a rock edge, painting vivid images through Bowie's early lyrical style. While it carries traces of British pop traditions, there's a strange, restless energy inside it, a signal of the shape-shifting genius to come. Critics have since hailed it as one of his finest pre-fame works, but for decades, it lived in the shadows of his later triumphs.
You're catching butterflies.
Listening today, it feels like discovering an origin story. In the Heat of the Morning isn't just an underrated track. It's a glimpse into the birth of a legend, proof that even in his earliest days, Bowie was reaching for something beyond ordinary rock and roll. The Summer of Love wasn't just about the hits we remember. It was about the hidden gems that shaped the sound of a generation. These 10 songs prove that greatness often hides in the shadows, waiting for listeners willing to dig deeper. Rediscovering them is like opening a time capsule filled with raw creativity and fearless experimentation. If these tracks stirred your curiosity, there's a whole universe of forgotten masterpieces out there. Don't let them stay buried. Keep exploring with us. Hit subscribe and join our journey through the music history they never taught you. Because the past still has stories to tell, and we're here to play them loud.